Welcome back to TXT Track Time. Elaine Thompson-Herah just competed in the 100 meters at the Rabat Diamond League, posting 10.83 seconds. Now, Elaine is starting her journey to achieving her first ever World Championships gold medal. So, T, what do you think of this race in particular? And I also wanted to speak a bit about her press conference where she said that, she has all the Olympic gold medals, 5 in fact. And what she has found elusive is that World Championships medal. And she was using this event today to prepare herself
That's a
for
mouthful.
what?
I don't think I'm going to remember all those questions. But
Okay.
anyway,
So she
let's.
was going to use this 100 meters to prepare herself for the trials. That
Uh-huh.
was interesting to hear. I would think that she would be in a position where she's ready and pretty certain that she can secure a spot. But she said she was using this race to prepare herself for the trials, and then of course Eugene, where she wants to get that elusive gold medal.
Yeah. I mean, I think Elaine is, not just starting, but she's on her way in her preparation for World Championships. And she seems to me to be right on target, right on pace to getting back down to, because if you do a comparison with last year, then you will see she's just right and around the same place, maybe a bit faster. Right. So I don't see any issues so far, especially when you hear things that, I'm not at 100%. That is what she said. So for an athlete that is not at 100%, I like what I am seeing. I thought that this race was a much better executed race than last week. No, obviously everything is relative to who you're running against. So I'm going to draw a comparison between, because I know Natasha Morrison from way back to be a good starter. I don't know if her start is holding with her throughout the years coming forward to now 2022, but in my mind, she's always been a good starter. So when I compared Elaine's start to hers, she wasn't more than a step behind in terms of where she was in the race, and that kind of reminded me of the Olympics where she was with Shelley in terms of the start. So just going based on this start, I would say it was much, much better than it was last week, a better executed race. And let's not forget, if we take certain things into consideration, one, in Eugene, it was what, +7, +07. That was the wind. So when you think about that, and the fact that it's one of the fastest tracks in the world, if not the fastest track in the world, and she drops at 10:79 over here in Rabat, that is not known for the fastest times. Before Elaine broke that meet record and brought it down to 10:89, it was actually 11 something. It was like an 11 low. So times are not necessarily known to be fast there, because either you get a headwind or sometimes it's just cold, so you don't really get the best performances there. So for me, seeing her in a positive as 0.3 meters per second wind running 10:83, that's a much better race than last week
Okay,
in
so
every way, shape, or form.
okay, T. So picking up from your dialogue relating to Elaine's starts.
Yeah.
Now, you made a comparison with her start and Natasha
Natasha.
Morrison's. So one thing that we have seen over the years is that MVP knows how to get athletes to start well, and they usually produce excellent starters. Now, Elaine's start on a whole is not bad, but when compared to other athletes that graduated from the MVP training school, we see way better starts. So Elaine does have a good start, but
Not the
comparable
best.
to other MVP athletes, there is a slight distinction. The other athletes tend to have a better start than her. However, that being said, I heard the commentators yet again commenting on her dry phase and her taking long to get into her running. Now, I have no issues with Elaine's extensive dry phase. I believe that once she comes out of that dry phase and she launches into her running, she's unstoppable. Now, what do you think about the commentators and then other trackies on a whole, constantly saying that Elaine's dry phase is too long? Is her dry phase too long going into a competition year yet
This
again?
is this is the trouble
Competition
that a lot of
season.
us get into. And that's why we're classified as internet coaches sometimes, because where something is not broken, don't try to fix it. Yes, she doesn't have the best start, and yes, we'd love for it to be better comparable to Shelley's. But people need to understand that there are reasons why some persons have better starts than others, right? There's a reason why Shelley is lower in the blocks versus a Elaine that's higher in the blocks. A lot of persons don't take into consideration an athlete's physical makeup when they're talking about starts, right? So all of this goes into consideration when a coach, I would think, is putting you in the blocks to say, okay, this is how you are going to maximize your potential coming out of the blocks. So I think, I mean, it's been there for years. Yes, she just left MVP, but if Stephen Francis had an issue with her start in terms of how high she's in the blocks, how long her drive phase is, he would have changed that a gazillion years ago. It wouldn't be coming through to her now moving over to a new coach. No, it would have been changed already. So it means that there's a reason why they're making her have such a long drive phase, and the reason why she's so high in the blocks. So before you all know all of these things, I don't think it's fair to say, oh, your start is bad, do this, do XYZ, because what works for one person will not work for the other. That's just
because
my take.
because when she comes out of her dry phase, she does seem to just parachute
And
for
she's gliding.
separating herself from the rest of the pack. So again, I have no issues with her dry phase. I just wanted to point it out because in the race, I heard them mentioning now Elaine is getting into her running, and that was something else that I heard the commentators mention again last week in Eugene. So they need to just, I would say, accept the fact that this is Elaine's running style,
It
and
is.
it has gotten her I mean, she is the second fastest woman in history, the double Olympic gold medalist. So at this point, to just appreciate her running style for what it is and not keep commenting that she's taking long to get into her racing.
Yeah, I think at this point
Yes.
it's a moot point. Again, if you're not her part of her coaching team, you do not know the reason why they've chosen for her to execute her race the way she does. You don't know why Shelley's coach made her execute the race she does as well. So with all of that taken into consideration, just let these athletes live and breathe and do what they have been doing successfully up to this point. And Elaine has been quite successful.
Okay, so there's one other thing that you mentioned that I want clarification for relating to where Elaine is this year versus that last year. And you mentioned that where she is last this year is comparable, if not better, than where she was last year. I just want to point out because you always mention this. Elaine of last year was a 10-7 runner. This Elaine is a 10-5 runner. So we would expect her to be better where she, as far as times go, we would expect her times to be better this year versus they were last year. So versus where they were last year. So I just want further clarification on that. I can't see how the two are comparable at all because this Elaine is a 10-5 Elaine versus last year's Elaine at this point was a 10-7 Elaine. Two different Elaine Thompson-Herahs.
Well, that is true, but also no season is the same. So I know last season she did say she was struggling before she went into the trials, and as you can see this year she has a different struggle going in before the trials. Also saying something along the lines of not being at 100%. So you have to take all of these things into consideration. And again, if I look back at this race, I think Elaine executed her dry phase and then she literally just held form and ran through the line. I didn't see her trying to do anything extra, right? And again, people need to remember that Elaine is one of the most deceptive runners out there. She is one of the most deceptive runners in terms of her style. Today she'll run 11 seconds and you're wondering, oh my God, the next week she'll drop 10-7. So no, I think she is where she needs to be in terms of, her being at 10-5 sprinter. Because again, last year this time she was, I mean, she did a few races in Florida in 10-7s, but for the most part, that was it. I know they were win aided. I don't know if any were legal. And then no, she would have gone into trials, and we know she came out of that with a third place. And she went on from that to run 10-5. So if we're coming forward to this season, she's already run 10-7. She's right on target to going back to running 10-5.
So moving into her press conference, Elaine seemed to make a big deal out of being ready for the national trials. Is Elaine ready?
She just has to qualify. What do you mean? Who's gonna? What other?
No, I understand that. My question is, she made a big deal of it. She said that she's using this race as preparation for the national trials. I would say that that was an unnecessary statement. Maybe this race is preparation. That is more races for the World Championships, but I can't see Elaine not qualifying comfortably.
No, because remember, you want to kind of mirror what you're doing because it's the same type of competition that you'll be going into at the World Championship, 3 rounds. So you want to go into your trials, and that is why some persons, Shelly, in this point, even though she automatically has a spot, she'll be going because you want to see where you are. You want to see how you're able to handle each round, and that will give you a good indication of what is to come at World Championships. So yes, it's very important. However, I don't think it's important from the sense of qualifying because unless something really drastically crazy happens, which we're not asking for, she will earn her spot for the team. It's just about her seeing how she can execute each round and then build on that to go into the World Championships, similar to the Olympics, and put on another masterclass.
Okay, and there's something else because this is a world record watch year, both for Shelly and Elaine. Someone could possibly
Yeah.
be that 10:49 world record. Now, Elaine is taking a different approach to the world record this year than she did towards the end of last season. Now, her new strategy seems to be just do race by race, and the world record will come where it will. Now, is she applying the right amount of energy and effort towards possibly clinching the gold and the world record? Because again, when it comes to running a world record, you have to do it when you're in the prime of your career, which obviously Elaine is in now. So should she be more aggressive right now?
I think it's something Jamaicans struggle with sometimes. I see it with Jamaican athletes where if they don't feel that they need to go out and put in, let's use another athlete, Gabby. I always say Gabby kills herself when she's running. And sometimes that's not a bad thing because you get to break through limits and see, what new barrier you can break into. So in that sense, yes, I see where Jamaicans struggle with that sometimes. But I don't think her preparation is any different from last year, really, because one, the world record wasn't even on her mind. Yes, she wrote down in her book, okay, I'm going to run 10:5. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But it wasn't, I can say shatter the world record kind of level. It's just that all of my preparation that I'm doing is to get me to this level. And again, if we cross-reference her racing last year to what's happening now, then it's pretty similar, right, in terms of the times that she's producing. So no, I don't think it's any different. The only difference is that yes, she knows that I can run 10:5.4. Yes, I wrote it down in a book, but unless you run it, you don't know, right? So she actually did it. So this year she knows that the world record is there, but she's also not pressuring herself because sometimes when you have these records on your mind consistently, you don't get it. It's the when you're free of pressure, you go into a race, you don't expect anything. Like in Eugene, she didn't expect anything, but she said she felt slow, and she felt like it was the bad race for her, and it came out to be her best race yet. So you want to have that kind of mindset to not put too much pressure on yourself and just let it come when it's going to come.
Okay, right. I agree. So yeah, so track is that wraps up another great race by Elaine Thompson-Herah running 10:83 in Rabat in the 100 meters. Is there anything else you want to add, T?
No, that's pretty much it. Elaine looks fantastic, and I saw a few persons saying, "Oh, Elaine is gonna run 10:6," and I'm like, guys, come on. Do you know the history of Rabat? Are you actually listening to the words coming out of Elaine's mouth when she's saying she's not in the best shape? She's not trying to force anything. You have to listen to our athletes sometimes when they say these things and not try to apply too much pressure. Yes, we want to see her run 10:6 because Shelly has already run it, but again, they're two different athletes in two different spaces of their life doing their own thing. So we need to give Elaine her time to get into where she needs to get into, and we have the utmost faith that she will.
Okay, yes. So track is that's a wrap. Please remember to like this video, engage in the comment section below, and subscribe to our channel. I'm
Auntie
Sam.
and Auntie.
We'll catch you in another one.